And now, the true story behind Sorry, Wrong Number. Sorry, Wrong Number is a 1948 American thriller film noir directed by Anatoly Litvak and starring Barbara Stanwyck and Burt Lancaster, which was released in the U.S. Lucille Fletcher modified it from her 1943 radio drama. Stanwyck received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. In 1943, Lucille Fletcher's drama was broadcast on the Suspense radio program as a one-woman show starring Agnes Moorehead as Mrs. Stevenson, a haughty ill woman who unintentionally intercepts a phone call between two men preparing a murder for that evening. When she can't get through to anyone, she calls a hospital, the police, and the telephone operator. After a few scenes, she discovers she's been set up as the victim. Sorry, Wrong Number also aired on radio on the Lux Radio Theater on January 9, 1950, starring Barbara Stanwyck and Burt Lancaster. Warning, spoiler alert. Multiple characters and their backstories are added to the original tale of the film. As the spoiled and sick daughter of a wealthy businessman, James Cotterell, Leona Stevenson had a lot to deal with. After a long day at work, she frantically tries to locate her husband, Henry, who arrives home late. She is alone in her Manhattan apartment because the servants are on vacation. Over a telephone line that appears faulty, two guys arrange the murder of a woman as she repeatedly telephones Henry. Leona doesn't learn much from the call except that it's scheduled for 11:15 p.m. when a passing train will drown out any noise. Her phone company and the police are notified of the incident. They can't do anything because they have no specific information. Leona begins to put together the puzzle in flashbacks as she makes a number of phone calls in an attempt to contact Henry. Eventually, Leona is able to speak with Henry's secretary, who informs her that Henry had lunch with a beautiful woman called Sally Lord that day, but did not return to work. In the course of her investigation, Leona discovers that her new companion, Sally Lord, is the former Sally Hunt, a college buddy of Henry's, who is at the time poor and working in a drugstore. Despite her father's wishes, Leona married Henry after stealing him from Sally. Her husband and two pals were meeting in a seemingly abandoned house on Staten Island, and Sally became so frightened that she followed them there. Signs posted outside the house indicate that it belongs to a Waldo Evans, Leona's father's pharmacist. Before she could warn Henry, he received a phone call, walked away from the table, and never returned. Leona is notified by Sally that her house on Staten Island has burned down and that 3 men have been detained, including one named Morano. Evans, on the other hand, has been able to elude capture and is now free. A note arrives from Henry informing Leona of his trip out of town on a business that Henry had forgotten about and will not be back until Sunday. Leona then makes contact with Dr. Philip Alexander, the physician she has traveled to New York to consult about her long-term heart condition. Dr. Alexander is Leona's first point of contact. Again, despite Henry's denial, Alexander confesses that he had given Henry her prognosis 10 days prior to her diagnosis. Leona had been free of heart attacks for several years before she married Henry. During a heated argument, Henry learned of her health problems for the first time a few years into their marriage. Leona is clearly trying to dominate Henry by insisting he work for her father despite his boredom and dissatisfaction with his job. In addition, Leona's attacks got more and more regular as their problems worsened until she was confined to bed. Though nothing is medically wrong with her, Alexander believes Leona requires mental assistance because of her psychosomatic issues. To calm herself down, she calls the hospital and requests an overnight nurse. Because they are short-staffed, She will only be able to see a nurse in an emergency, according to the receptionist. Despite the fact that she thinks it's just 11 p.m., her clock has stopped. In the middle of the night, Leona receives a call from Waldo Evans. To his dismay, he admits that Henry had him take his chemicals from the Cotterill medicine firm and sell them to Marano. Waldo was transferred, and Henry opted to skip Marano and go straight to Waldo. As a result of Marano's presence, Henry was coerced into writing a $200,000 IOU for his lost income, due in 3 months. Affirming his lack of funds, Marano reminded Henry of Leona's big insurance coverage. It is no longer necessary for Henry to raise money because Marano has been arrested. It turns out that the number he offers Leona to reach Henry is actually a number for the municipal morgue. Henry contacts her from a train station a few minutes after this happens. Leona, in a state of hysteria, delivers Waldo's message. His involvement is revealed, and she apologizes profusely, saying she loves him and was frightened of losing him, and that she's sorry for being so tough. He pleads with her to walk to the balcony and shout for aid, but she refuses, despite the fact that she can hear someone down below yelling. Leona is murdered in the bedroom by the intruder. Calling again, Henry is met with a message saying, "Sorry, wrong number." We continue our backstory with the true history of the production. As a film noir, Wrong Number follows a number of rules, with multiple flashbacks to fill out the tale. The film is shot in real time with a lot of dialogue. The view from Stanwyck's bedroom window is of the night skyline of New York City at night. In order to maintain a high level of suspense, the picture is shot in pitch black with looming shadows. Fletcher's screenplay was first rejected by Hollywood's Production Code Administration because of its depiction of drug trafficking, and it had to be considerably rewritten before it was approved. How was Sorry, Wrong Number received at the time? With domestic sales of $2,850,000, Variety named the film one of the year's top grossers. Some critics criticized the movie adaptation for being excessively long-winded, but the film noir rendition is still regarded a classic of the genre. One of the most iconic twist endings of the era is found in this film. Several critics praised Stanwyck's performance, calling it one of her best. On January 9, 1950, Lux Radio Theater broadcast a radio adaptation of the film. In order to reenact her cinematic performance, Stanwyck recreated her character from memory. Adapted by Fletcher, it aired on the 4th episode of CBS's anthology series Climax, starring Lillian Bronson, and was broadcast on November 4, 1954. On a light note, a spoof of Sorry, Wrong Number was performed on the Jack Benny program on October 17, 1948. We hope you enjoyed learning about the real backstory of Sorry, Wrong Number. As always, thank you for tuning in.